In this video, we're just going to do a quick overview of how to manage your question banks in Canvas. So in your left navigation, click Quizzes. And here you'll see a list of the quizzes that you have in the course. And then you can create new quizzes by clicking the plus quiz button. And then you'll also notice you have a gear icon here, and that's to manage your question banks. So before we go and look at the question bank management, let's go ahead and look at one of these quizzes first. So I'm going to click on the example quiz, and there's an edit button here on the quiz. And right now we're not going to look at the settings, we're going to go hop over to the question tab. So you'll see here I have some questions in the quiz, and we can check this box to actually see more details about each question. Now please note that if you have more than 50 questions in your quiz, this option will not be available. So we're going to create a new question, and I'm going to make this a true-false, and I'm just going to call this question about the internet. So you'll want to make sure that you have a detailed title, and then you'll put your question text in here, and then you'll select your answer. And you can also add feedback as well. And then you can also add your point value. And you'll update your question. So this is how you would create questions in a quiz. So let's go ahead and save this quiz. And we're going to go back out to the quiz index page. And now we're going to go and look at the Manage Question Banks. So here you'll see that I have a question bank that's called Unfiled Questions. So all of the questions that I created in my example quiz are in this bank called Unfiled Questions. There's no option while you're creating the questions in the quiz to add them to a certain question bank. So they all get filed here first. I imported the other quiz, and this is the imported question bank. So let's go ahead and look at the unfiled questions. So here you see a list of the questions that I have created in quizzes. You may find as you create quizzes that you'll have a huge number of questions in this bank. Now you can either rename the bank by clicking Edit Bank Details, or you can move the questions into a new bank. So I'm going to go ahead and move these into a different bank. So I can select the questions that I want to do, and you'll see, for example, I didn't change the title here, so I really don't know a whole lot about what this question's about. So it's really important to have high quality titles. So I'm going to move these into a new bank, and I'll call this Civil War. And we'll just move those questions. So now they've been moved to another bank. Now I can also do the move on an individual question, and you'll notice here that I also have the option of keeping a copy here as well. So I can do it this way as well. Okay, so let's go back to the quiz. Let's go back to quizzes. I'm going to open up the quiz again. We're going to take a look at it one more time. And we'll look at the question tab again. So all of these questions are in the quiz. If a student took this quiz, they would get these questions in this order. To prevent cheating, you may want to randomize questions. So what you would need to do is question group. So if we create a question group, we can give this a title of whatever we want. And then we can pick how many questions we'll display on the test. and how much each question's worth. Now, if your questions have a different point value, this point value will override the individual question's point value. And we'll go ahead and create the group. And now we can move these questions into that group. So we click and drag the questions, and now they're all in the group. So only 2 of these questions will display on the quiz, and they'll be randomized for each student. So that's one way of randomizing. I'm going to go ahead and create another group. This time, instead of dragging the questions in, I'm actually going to link to a bank. So we'll select a bank, and again we'll pick how many it's going to display and how many points they're going to be worth. And you'll notice that you can create several groups in here and they can all have different point values. So the difference here is that these questions are actually going to be linked to a question bank. Now the difference here is these questions in this group here are actually in the quiz, and that makes a big difference on how you're going to grade. For example, if one of these questions has an error in it with the linked bank, you would need to go out to the question bank and edit that question. This makes it easy because you only have to update once. However, the auto regrade option is not available, so that might be a hindrance for some people. The questions that are in the quiz itself, those can be auto regraded, so if there's a problem you can auto regrade those. However, these are copies of what was in the question bank. So for example, if you update a question here in the quiz, you still need to go out in the question bank and update that same question. So that's just something to keep in mind as far as how you might grade quiz questions. Okay, so that's a general overview of the question banks. So if you have any questions, you can call me at the Center for Technology and Professional Development.